I'll be chairing the first session of today. It's on soft skills and social skills. And our first talk today is Power Core Values Teaching Racial Bias Awareness to a Stealth Game and Workshop by Mike and Christel. I know you have a very exciting presentation for us, so please take it away.
Great, thank you. So I'm from the Entertainment Technology Center at Carnegie Mellon University, and there's a lot of co-authors because there's actually a lot of work that went into this. First, I want to introduce the student team that built the game. There's 5 of them. They all graduated with their master's degree, so they're off in their professional careers now. So thanks to them, we have this game to work with. The game was built in the fall 2022 semester. It then was studied in the spring 2023 semester, and here I'm talking about it. And it was really motivated by how can we use a persuasive game to teach something that maybe 8th graders, 13, 14-year-olds, don't really want to talk about or don't really want to deal with, the subject matter that they might need to be persuaded. Because at that age range, 13, 14, if you tell them, well, you have to learn this, you have to learn this, you're preaching to them, they shut down. So instead of shutting down, can you persuade them in some way? And Mary Flanagan and Jeff Kaufman wrote a really good paper about persuasive games, where if you don't really signal, this is what you're going to be learning, the message may get through. And that was exactly the approach we used here, where we tried to use a persuasive game to get across some topics about racial attitudes, racial bias, and awareness. And we did this not just with the game, but a game plus a workshop. And that's why I'm handing out the paper sheets, because we're going to do a little piece of the workshop as part of this talk. So the game was about solving problems. The persuasive game piece about, well, what is this? I played a little clip for some of you who were in the room early about, oh, we got to fix the spaceship. It looks like a puzzle system. You have to fix the spaceship and understand what's going on with the spaceship. And we have a little companion, our robotic companion, or RC, who's around there to help us, talking to us, telling us some things. But while we're going through repairing the spaceship, we have to go into the spaceport and get help from different engineers, and it surfaces other problems. So there's other things going on here. We have our main character, we are the captain. We have Zun and Ninoy, the 2 engineers in this space station, and our robotic companion. But there are other characters too. We may run into these, we can talk to them, they surface other dialogue, they surface other discussion. And then the environment itself is communicating things. So this is very much a project where the artists had a lot to say and a lot to contribute in terms of the message being delivered and in terms of the lesson being delivered. So transformation is not only through the mechanics or through the narrative, it's also through the art assets. So the side district here is less resourced. There's no seating outside, there's no plants in the corridor, there's no lighting that's clean, things are broken. So there's a side district. The main district, well lit, seating outside, plants, extra things, and so it's just 2 different sort of commercial districts inside of the same space station. And fixing the spaceship, that's what the player's after. 8th graders, they really are very much achievers. They want to fix that space station. That's what they're going after. And they're going to run around the space station to do whatever they can to fix the spaceship that's docked in the spaceport. But as you go through, there are certain things going on with RC, where RC, he may say things like, I do not believe that we can trust this person with repairing the ship. Well, that's pretty pointed. This starts to surface artificial intelligence bias. It starts to surface other issues about, well, why in the heck is our robot companion saying these things? And so that's things that they're encountered as the player goes through all of this. Now, as you, the player going through, you can start to take some responsibility. So later when you talk to Zun, you can say, well, I'm sorry about RC. I'll be dealing with it later. We can even take on more responsibility and say, we were wrong, and I'm sorry, it won't happen again. There's some subtleties in your dialogue discourse where you can either say, nope, it's not my issue, it is partly my issue, it is all my issue. And that's interesting to see what's happening. There's some bias in the environment. We're going to go through this in the exercise itself. And there are things you can do inside of the environment where we can interact with the environment and click on it and get more stuff popping up in terms of text boxes. We can interact with the NPCs by clicking on the ... and have some discussions. So those are the things that happen inside of this game. the game is out there and the link is in the paper. So if you want to play the game later, great, just go to the paper. The link is actually a reference in the paper. So you can just say, oh, I want to play this game later, I forgot my slide deck. The link is there. So it runs inside the browser. It was built in Unity. And what's really nice is that we knew that if we, as academics at Carnegie Mellon, are trying to teach 8th graders, well, we don't really know how to teach 13 and 14-year-olds as well as 8th grade educators do. So we brought in a workshop of 8th grade educators who also knew how to teach racial bias, racial attitudes, racial beliefs, and they were the ones that looked at this game and said, oh, here's how we can bring that message home in a workshop to start to pull away the blinds of, oh, this is more than just a game about fixing a spaceship. And so they came in, they worked through with us on different activities, and the workshop link, I'll show the workshop link later, but it's also inside the paper. So you can get to both the game and the workshop if you want to do this later, if you want to run it later yourself. Now, in terms of the study, more details are inside of the paper, but the study was a pilot study with 16 8th graders to see, oh, is this landing? Are we starting to get in a good place? And it was a good mix of 1 Asian, 3 black, 4 mixed race, and 8 white students. So it actually was stratified across different racial groups. Everybody finished the game, everybody finished the puzzle. It took about an average of 15 minutes. There was, as with all pilot studies, a little bit of a hiccup. 2 of the people didn't do their survey, had to do their survey and then play the game a bit faster. But it all worked. And the nice thing is the 8th graders, they did not only stay on track to fix the spaceship that was in the dock, they also did interact with the dialogue and the side characters and interact with the environment. So they did that, an average of 8 times or 4 times for the environment clicks and side character clicks, with the side characters being more attractive, as you'd expect. It's more interesting to click on those non-playable characters, these people sitting down here at the table, than clicking on the poster, and it really was twice as often people would click on those side characters. And they had an average of 71 interactions, dialogues, 73 with the players that weren't rushed, and they could apologize, and it was interesting that 5 of the 16 did not apologize at all, 5 of the 16 apologized lightly, and 6 apologized in a different way. So that is something we want to dig into more as we get volume of data. This again is a pilot study. Here we were interested more in seeing, well, what if anything is landing, and we were quite pleased that we did land some things. The teacher guide, if you want to do this yourself, is out there. And the opening prompt, the first thing we asked the 16 sitting down was, well, what was this? What did you just do? And they said, it's a game about fixing a spaceship. So we're landing that persuasive part. They weren't really being signaled that, oh, this is a game about racial bias and racial privilege. No, so, okay, we're a game about fixing a spaceship. So what we did is we're going to do this activity. So I want you to look at these sheets if you have them. If you don't have them, there's some up front, or you can just watch a neighbor. And what I want you to do is I'm going to go through some things in the game. I know we didn't play the game, but I'm just going to show screenshots. And I want you to think about if either of these engineers are hurt. If an engineer is hurt by something, I want you to fold the engineer. Put in a new fold if you think an engineer is hurt. I'm going to show things where maybe you think, no, neither of them are hurt. Maybe one is hurt. Maybe both are hurt. So I want you to fold an engineer and add a new fold whenever you think an engineer is hurt by what I'm showing. So the first thing is, there's this customer representative, and the customer representative tells you to go down to the very end of the space station to get help. So walk past Hsuan and go to Ninoy to get help to fix your spaceship. So if you think of either of these characters are hurt by that, by walking past Hsuan to get to Ninoy to fix the spaceship, you can add a fold. The other thing we see here is Founders Day. Founders Day has the picture of the founder. If you think either character is hurt by that, go ahead and add a fold. Here, this is the area of the spaceship, the side district, where we have a robot enthusiast. We also have Hsuan. If you think either of the engineers are hurt by the side district, go ahead and add a fold. Here we have RC saying, I do not believe we can trust this person, Hsuan. I do not believe we can trust Hsuan with repairing the spaceship. If you think either character are hurt by that, then add a fold. Now here, this is a poster outside the museum. It shows the 100 greatest innovators of all time. So if you think either of the engineers are hurt by this, then go ahead and add a fold. Here we have an eager kid saying, oh, these robots are inside this museum. They can make desserts. That's cool. If you think either engineer is hurt, add a fold. This is the university, the Galactic Center Tech, the poster for it. If you think either engineer is hurt by this, add a fold. There's a group outside talking. There's some stuff going on behind them. Here we have the newscaster showing what's going on with world news. Again, if you think either engineer is hurt, add a fold. And then now we have a proud parent saying, oh, great, my kid got in. My kid had pretty good grades. So if you think, that discussion of the proud parent saying, yes, my child got in, hurts either engineer, add a fold. Here we have the diligent parent saying, oh, my kid didn't get in. Same grades, not quite sure what happened. You think either engineer is hurt, add a fold. So here we have the area outside the noise spot, and he has, I say he, we try to be very gender neutral, he or she. So we have Nanoy outside with a review board, and so the review board is there, so showing reviews for Nanoy. If you think either engineer is hurt by this, add a fold. And here we have Zun's engineer area. Zun doesn't have a review board. If you think either engineer is hurt by this, add a fold. Now RC is finishing off inside the space dock, and Zun is there, and RC says, no, my algorithm says don't use Zun, you should wait for 3 days instead. So RC is saying, wait 3 days instead of using Zun. If you think either engineer is hurt by this, add a fold. So this is an interesting folding activity. Can people hold up their two engineers? Hold up their two engineers. So it should be quite interesting and apparent that, oh my gosh, I did an abbreviated exercise where you didn't play the game. Zun is having lots of folds. Nanoy, not really so much. Nanoy often is very clean, no folded. On this space station, the pink class, they're represented very well as the achievers, the founders, the innovators. They have all the better commercial area. They have a lot of good things going for them. It doesn't mean they're doing anything wrong, but they're having the advantage of some privilege. And we don't really use that term in the workshop, but I'm sharing with you. What we do say in the workshop is this. We didn't define what hurt meant. We left it completely up to you. So hurt can vary person to person, but even with that varying definition of what hurt is, you saw a difference in your two sheets. Now you have families, you have teachers, you have friends to help you. So you can take your sheets and you can press them clean and fold and press and make them clean again. But if you hold them up, you'll still see, well, there's these faint lines where the creases were. Those are microaggressions. Those are the effects of microaggressions, that even though you can clean it with great support, there's still something there. So we really want to work as a society to try to remove those microaggressions, to try to remove those biases, to make it a more equal playing field. And inside the workshop itself, this was very dramatic. This is reported in the paper that yes, indeed, Zun came out with lots and lots of folds, 109 folds versus 6 for Nanoy. And this all comes from a nice online discussion of how to teach kids about microaggressions. So biases in places you don't expect. This now surfaced. Inside the workshop, after the paper activity, everybody started talking about RC is a racist, RC says things that RC shouldn't say. It now surfaced a really good discussion. And so lots of talking about RC. We talked about what he was saying with these recommendations. We invited in discussion about any of the characters. So we were not trying to really drive this discussion towards any particular character, but all these different topics about representational bias, AI bias, concerns about treatment inside of the workplace, they all started surfacing. And that was a good discussion to land points. And what we did with this colorblind racial attitude scale, we asked it before, we asked it after, we looked at the change. This measured 3 factors. We did not expect to have anything from blatant racial issues, because that was not inside of our system. There never was a, oh, you're pink, oh, you're purple. We stayed away from blatant racial issues on purpose. We wanted this to be more subtle. So we did not expect anything on factor 3. We really didn't expect anything on factor 2 either, because we weren't talking about institutions inside of this system. Aside from Galactic Center Tech, there really were no institutions. But we did want to get at racial privilege, and that landed. So we found something about racial privilege. So we really surfaced that this game was more than just solving problems. You encountered other problems. On racial privilege, there was a significant shift of now having more awareness of racial privilege after playing the game and doing the workshop. There was a shift on this particular question about perceived racial discrimination, that going in, they were between never and rarely did they feel they were treated badly or unfairly in school because of race or ethnicity. Afterward, it was between rarely and sometimes. There was a little more reflection of, oh, those subtle things do add up and matter. We had other survey instruments. One of the ones we thought, oh, maybe we can use this autistic one from the Toronto Empathy Questionnaire, but that was really meant for age 16 plus. So we're not going to use that again. We're going to have a couple more changes in the sort of questionnaires we use. And what we want to do with this now is, okay, we have this pilot study, we have some good results. You could read more about those results in the paper. We need to do more research on persuasive games to show, oh, not only is it a good idea, but it really can work. Games plus workshop can really land in this particular technique. Racial bias is tough for 8th graders. The hypothesis shows that, oh, maybe it'll work, and we collected evidence already that shows that it is. So thank you for your attention, and I'm glad you did the paper exercise.
Thank you, Michael. Any questions for Michael? Yeah, Bryan?
Hi, Michael. I just have a quick question for you. I used to teach 8th grade in the States, so I'm just curious, like, how did you know the teachers that you brought in, the 8th grade teachers that you brought in as kind of stakeholders in developing the game and stuff? How do you know that you said that they were they were teachers that could teach about racial bias.
Yeah.
So how do you know that they could? That's something that I'm wondering. I'm like, what kind of certification is that?
So,
you know?
Yeah, we're lucky. In our area of Pennsylvania, where my university is, there's a remake learning network that connects West Virginia, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. So a bigger area, maybe 200 square miles. And that area has resources where these teachers are listed as, these are their subject matter expertise.
Okay.
There also is an intermediate unit which covers many, many school districts. They also have topics of expertise. So we went to those subject matter experts and said, oh, you know this. Come in and help us with the workshop.
Okay, cool. Thank you. That makes sense.
Any more questions? I think we have a couple time for 1 or 2 more questions if there are.
Could you put up just the link again to the game?
Yeah, it's in the paper too, but yeah. I don't want to.
Oh, it's in the paper too. Okay.
I'll talk to you after.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. Do you want to show the video again, or do we have 1 more minute if you want?
Yeah, if you want, I'll show one more video then.
Yeah.
So this is running through this is showing again what happens with the game. You're going to talk to the engineers, you're going to see what's going on. You're trying to get help for fixing the space station. No matter what you do, you need the help of both in order to get the space station fixed. So even if you're an excellent puzzle system, there's certain things blocked out without having that help. And so that's another example of you're walking through, in order to get to the engineers, you need to walk in the environment. That will surface some of the things in the environment that show the unfairness between the pink and purple people.
So to complete the game, you have to work with both engineers.
You have to, yes, yes.
I don't have a question, but I think it was very interesting. It's probably not my target group, so I'm not so very familiar with it, but it was very interesting how you actually looked at small details to present something to get a discussion. It might be also worth for us to think of that for higher education. But probably we need other things to look for then.
Thank you.
Okay, can I ask you a quick question about, was this the sound that was in the video? Was this the sound that plays during the game?
Yeah. So we on purpose had the sound be complementary rather than necessary. And we did this because some of our school districts are very, very poor. They have to turn the sound off because they're in a computer lab, they don't have individual headphones, they might not even have individual speakers. So I know there was a talk yesterday about how sound is super important to make transformational games even better. We sacrificed to have this game reach into school districts without great sound capability. So the sound here is just background music. There's no voicing of the characters. You read the characters. There are sound effects. So it does complement what's going on, but it's absolutely supplemental and not necessary.
And the music seems sort of very happy and upbeat and so on, and maybe a little bit at odds with the situation that you...
Yeah, but again,
it's an interesting choice.
The more we signaled that, hey, there's problems here, the more the students might have shut down.
Exactly.
That it was very much trying to be a head fake.
Nice. Okay. Well, thank you very much. So our next speaker is Dr. Bryan, whose talk is Through a Gender Lens, a serious game for young children to enhance bullying awareness and encourage the adoption of the defender role.
Thank you.
Welcome.